Thank you very much for the invitation. Sorry interrupting your dialogue and discussion, so I try to be short that we can continue in a dialogue way. Let me first make some remarks about challenges to and possibilities for competitiveness and economic growth in Europe as we see it. So first, let's have a look at the European level. Of course, growth and employment are of the essence for upholding as well as for developing our European economies. A lack of job opportunities, decreasing real investment, drying out of capital markets, and loss of the innovative technological edge for sure not the right framework conditions for enhancing the European projects. At the same time, we are facing rough global competition with emerging markets on the one side and tough national circumstances with budgetary restrictions on the other side. And funding is more limited than in the past, yet it is still available both at national and EU level. Therefore, we think we have to make sure that better spending is our key word for the future. What do we mean with better spending? I think the EU 2020 strategy plays a key role in shaping Europe's future, and its full implementation should be ensured by all stakeholders at all levels. The European Semester 2013 has started, and the enhanced participatory approach should help in advancing more rapidly both at national and EU-wide level. And here we think, and I want to mention some crucial elements. As we see it in Austria, and I think we should also see it on the European level, education is here very important. You know, Europe until today is known worldwide for its high standards of education, but we cannot rest on our laurels and need to constantly develop and adapt our education systems. For example, we see it in Austria that we need to ensure that secondary education ensures a high level of flexibility and renders young people apt for the labor market. Higher education is not only means for qualification. We ought not to forget vocational training. In Austria, we have developed for many decades this system of dual apprenticeship or vocational training. Young people who enter in Austria the labor market at the age of 15, 16 years are not only working in enterprises and firms, but they continue to receive school training. And so this system, I'm sure, has helped us to keep our unemployment rates at the lowest level in the EU for several years. You know, we have the lowest unemployment rate and the lowest rate of unemployed young people. I think that's very important. And the key issue is that system, as I mentioned it. Second, what we try to do, we try to do our best to close the gap between science and research and industry. For Austria, it is very important. We have a lot of small economies and medium-sized enterprises here that we invest also in these small companies using new technologies, and we have certain systems to support them very strong to stay in close contact with our universities and to stay in close contact with science and research institutions. We organized in Austria, we had different ministries, the Chamber of Commerce and different institutions for this SME. And now we have in Austria a growth and innovation initiative aiming to establish a one-stop shop regarding SMA interests and requests. And this is very important to support them. About 60% of our GDP is earned by exports. And this means 6 out of 10 euro we earn in Austria, we earn through export. So we are really very export orientated. And 70% of our exports go in the EU countries. So what's important for us? I mentioned it 2 days ago in Croatia. I mentioned it here today, and I will do it in the next weeks in Serbia and in other neighbor countries. For us, the most important thing is legal certainty. It's very important, I think. It's the most important element for us of trade relations. And to have a good climate for investment. And if you're speaking of a growth for Europe, you need investment. And you need a climate of investment. You can't do it by state and state-run programs. I'm not a friend of state-run programs. So you need legal certainty and the rule of law. This is for me very, very important. Undermining this approach brings tremendous losses at all levels. Consumer will pay more or will not enjoy adequate legal protection. Service providers, commerce and industry will be reluctant to invest as they cannot ensure guaranteed market access and benefits. And so I think this is very important. Then reliability in planning. And of course, the tax system is very important, that entrepreneurs can be sure that there will not be big changes after they have done their investment, and then there are new laws, higher taxation, and so on. And we have to do everything on the national level and on the European level to fight against overburdening regulation. This is always a problem in societies like we have in Hungary or we in Austria. So on the one hand, we have to do our national budget consolidation, but beside this consolidation programs, it's very important to have also the possibility to invest, and we try with our budget to do both. On the European level, only some sentences speaking about the multi-annual financial framework. We discussed it already today at our lunch, and we discussed it for several times on the European level. You know, it was not possible at the last European summit to find a result. I am sure we can find a result, but it's not, for me, it's not really the key how if we will have growth and which growth rate we will have. I think until today, as Europe is structured, the key is always on the national level. If it's possible for the government, for the national governments to take the right decisions, to have a climate where it's possible for private companies to invest, or if you're not able to do this, I think it's very important that we have always in our mind Europe 2020 strategy, that we need competitiveness, innovation, research. That's for me a very important. And of course, when we are speaking of better spending, we mean that a key is to spend better than before speaking about to spend more. You know, we are in favor of regional policy, and we are of course in favor of cohesion policy, but we have to do that, we do it in the best way. That's what we mean. I give you one example, which for me is not the best way. In the last budget on the European level. We had this year we have a budget around 126 billion euro. At the same time, we have in the RAL, Resta Liquidité, what does it mean? Unspent commitments around 250 billion euro. That's not a system where we can say it's the best way to organize here on the European level this kind of support on the national level. We should do everything to have here a framework that we find better solutions. So what I want to say is I am optimistic in that way that I'm sure we will find a solution for this multi-annual financial framework in the next months. We have the chance. We have the chance on the worldwide level in a competition with countries like China and India, because I'm sure they will have a lot of problems on national level, because if I look at our standards dealing with environmental issues, for example, how we protect our working people and the social standards, all the discussions we had already, and we have solutions. They will start in these countries, and I think Europe is strong enough to be competitive in the next years. But we have to do our homework. First thing, and the second thing, we have to do everything on the European level, not only speaking about the problems we have to look for the chances. One chance, of course, is enlargement, especially for Austria and for Hungary, looking to Croatia, but not only to Croatia. We should use these chances. And a second point for me is especially looking at the financial sector. Here we have to strengthen the European level and to go step by step to a stronger banking union, to mention it with one sentence. So last sentence for the beginning. Of course, we have to face the realities. We have now some problems, but we are still strong enough to solve them. Thank you.